Hi, you're listening to Salon Soul Brothers and Sisters Hump of the Week 7 at 7 archive interview with today's guests Paul and Richard Dromgoole of Zeba Hairdressing. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and fellow Salon Soul Brothers and Sisters. Tonight we've got a big treat for you. It's two guys that I know, oh God, I know as long as I'm in hairdressing. One was a great mentor of mine because he's a lot older than me. Well, he's not. It's just that I was a latecomer to the trade, and he was a big inspiration on really getting me into the art of cutting hair and colour back in the day when we started. The other chap then kind of came along a little while later, and I hope I might have influenced his career at some stage in some way, because it was probably a little bit reverse. And tonight I've got the amazing brothers that are Paul and Richard of Zeba Hairdressing. 4 amazing salons, two in Dublin, one on North Side, one on South Side, one in a department store, one flagship shop on South William Street, which I'm sitting in at the moment. Well, not in the shop, I'm out on the street. Pretty cold at the moment, actually, you know. And we are social distance from those people in the back. So as you'll know, it's just somebody forgot to take that.
That's some of the team on their lunch.
Well, I'm still waiting for my coffee. I wish the waitress ever hurry up. So St. William Street is the flagship shop. Then they also have a beautiful salon in a shopping centre out in Maynooth. And then they've got a high street shop in Sandymount. A team of over 70 hair professionals. Just 28 years in business, correct me if I'm wrong, 28 years in business. Both started when they were 9.
Thanks, Greg. Thank you.
And both married to hair professionals. Like it's a family steeped in hairdressing history. Mom was a hairdresser, wives hairdressers, cousin hairdresser who I ended up marrying. So it's just a legacy of hairdressing, and the next generation is even there, which I'm sure you can tell me. So I'm going to start with the 7 questions, and I'm going to hit you, Paul, with the first one, being the senior here. And the first is, why did you choose a career in hairdressing, Paul?
As you said, Greg, you know, family ties there. As you mentioned, our mum was a hairdresser and always will be. She's still with us, thanks be to God.
Hold on.
Very good. There's your coffee. Good man.
Your coffee.
That's a new service on South William Street.
Put it on the bill for Zeba. Zeba pay for you. Okay.
But my mum done hairdressing while I was in school, and I would have always been around that. So, you know, that was always there. But it wasn't my sort of first love at the time. It was more influence than anything else. I did want to go on to be an architect. Stayed on in school, done the Leaving Cert, was going to go to college, went into work where my father worked, which was the independent newspapers at the time. Didn't particularly like that. And my cousin Mary was working in a very trendy salon at the time in Toppy's in the Irish Life Mall. It was one of the first shopping centres in the city. And it was a very high profile salon. Steiner were a world brand. They had on the cruise ships, their salons, which I think they still have. And it was something that I thought, well, always wanted to travel, know a bit of hairdressing, went to work with my cousin in Steiner, and that was the start of me.
When you say, well, actually one of the unique things about Toppy's was they were the first salon I seen with a hairdryer hung from the ceiling.
That's right.
It was ahead of its time. It was state of the art. I remember it well from just on the way, walking up and down the road, looking in the window, because I was too young to start hairdressing.
When you were 5, yeah.
So, Richard, what made you decide to join the hairdressing?
Well, it was a little bit like, as Paul explained, our man's a hairdresser, and, you know, been at home and always having that influence around with my mum, and then Paul obviously starting. And I had to do something besides kick a ball in the street, so my mum got Paul to drag me into the salon one Saturday, and I started in Mary Street. Paul was just moving on up to Grafton Street at the time, and yourself was there, and Alison, and Peter McDonald, and I really liked it. I was still in school at the time, and done 2 years, and then left school just after the junior certs or inter cert, whatever it was then, and I started my career there.
It was
under yourself as Mary Street
salon, because I think at its time it probably had the highest quota of male hairdressers in Ireland. Like, we really had some serious amount of male hairdressers, And when you think about it, out of there, that went on to, you know, relatively good success. You know what I mean? So there must have been something in the water down in Mary Street that pushed us on. And like for you, Paul, it must have been a dream come true to even eventually come full circle. And I'm sure we'll get to it when by opening up in Arnott's that you ended up back on the same street again, you know?
Yeah,
But we'll take that one for later on. So the career as a hairdresser, you trained, you done it. I remember, Paul, at the time when I came in, yourself and Mark McCauley were like a breath of fresh air. You know what I mean? And I was very lucky. It was like a challenge to say which of you could teach me the most. And then you both went off. Paul, you went up to Grafton Street, Mark on into the training centre. And just the career path you had then, Paul, how it evolved. And you know what I mean? Like you really went to the top of the tree of the management within Peter Mark at a very quick pace. So when did you feel it was like leading this question too? What made you want to become a salon owner?
Yeah, I suppose from the time of going into hairdressing right at the beginning, Greg, that would have been always in my mind, was to have my own business, have my own salon. Then, you know, you get into the daily routine of going to work. And I mean, Peter Mark was an amazing experience. I had 11 great years in Peter Mark. And as you said, came through the ranks very quickly. And they gave me amazing opportunities to do that. I got a very good training early on and had great teachers around me and mentors around me, which really excelled my career. The salon you work in is very important, and the people that train you within that salon are even more important. So a shout out to all them trainers. That's who makes the hairdressers today, not just the salons, it's the individual trainers that give their time to education, to staying back after work perhaps, to train young people. So moving on very quickly, I went into management and grew up through management and eventually ended up in Stephen's Green managing their high profile Valentino at the time. Worked there for a number of years, and then sort of, it wasn't that there wasn't anywhere else to go. I knew there was, but I just felt it was time for me to do what I wanted to do right from the start. And I think that's very important. You know, have your goals and never hold on to them. Always keep them there, because sometimes we can lose track of them. You know, we have a destination, you know, you might change your journey to get to that destination, but you know, your goal should be to reach that destination and then carry on from there.
And then I'm going to flip back to you, Richard, here. And it's slightly different with this question because you actually left at a very young age with less experience to open up Final Touch.
Yeah, Final Touch, yeah.
Touch. And how does Greg remember that? Because Greg was your manager in Peter Mark at the time that you had to hand your notice into.
That's right. Yeah. I got the opportunity. I got the opportunity.
A really good stylist. I wasn't happy, but you know what? It was the right move for you. So what made you think about how did that evolve? Elaborate a little bit on that.
Well, how Ashbourne evolved, I think it's a little bit like our minute salon. It's not a place I'd ever been before until someone said there's an opportunity of a shopping centre, opening up a new shopping centre. And my sister, her husband was playing rugby out that area, and they were looking at a house. And it was, she said it to myself and Paul. And at the time I was just turned 21, and I was an assistant manager with a great manager in Northside Shopping Centre at the time. And yourself, Greg, of course. And then it was just an opportunity that came along, and I suppose like I was under good guidance from yourself and obviously Paul as well. And it was something that we discussed, and it was an opportunity for us to step outside, to start to run a business. You know, like managing the salon is one thing, and managing it for somebody else and always having that background. But it was great to actually just take the leap and do it. Yeah, and it was actually quite good. Yeah, it was very good. It was a small salon, but it was good.
And how many years did you have Final Touch for, Richard?
We had it for 6 years.
6 years?
Yeah, it was 6 years. Yeah, it was 6 years. And then
a lot of experience there, and a lot of, I suppose from you on the outside watching in, Paul, it was a lot of things to, we won't do that when we make it.
What we've done, Greg, I'd say Richard had Final Touch for 6 years. We opened Zeba, myself and Angie, about a year after Final Touch was opened. So they ran side by side for a 5-year period. And, it was a good learning curve for Richard and myself. He was working in his salon. I was working my salon. And then, we decided, I think, town is for me, and we wanted to grow. And so we merged, and Richard came into Zeba at the time was in Stephen Street. And that was the sort of the new beginning of Zeba at that point in time.
And looking at both your partners as well, because you've been a big part of your business. Richard, you've never worked with Wendy, but
No.
then these are childhood sweethearts.
Yeah, very much so.
Around the corner from each other. And do you think, like, the fact that, would that influence Wendy to go into hairdressing, do you think? Or do you know what I mean?
At the time when Wendy had started, she was working in Shylocks. Was it Shylocks? Yeah.
Yeah.
Just in work experience, and then started to work with a good friend of ours, Des, in Petermark in the Islac, and she's still working with Des, and very successfully. And I think that's obviously been a key to our relationship as well. She has her, her niche there, what she does. She's a very busy stylist, and yeah, it works for us.
And then, Paul, was it you that you unearthed this amazing talent that came down from Donegal and saying, this girl's going to go on and win some serious trophies? If I'm going to keep her, I better marry her.
Yeah, I'll take all the credit for that, Greg. Thanks very much.
Yeah.
I mean, I met Angie when she started her career. I was actually her manager, which I think is illegal now. But at the time, Angie started to work in Dunleary. I was managing Dunleary at the time, and I moved then to Grafton Street, and she asked for a transfer, and I knew she had great potential at the time as a hairdresser. And when she moved in, it was later on the relationship started to grow then later on in the years. Very lucky for me that did happen.
The other, moving on, because salon ownership, like I think it was it was in both your DNA to end up having your own business. But the next question I want to ask you is, before you go back to thinking what you would have done, because the next question is, what would you have done differently? I think I have to point out that, like you said, won everything. You've won the L'Oreal Colour Trophy. Angie has been hairdresser of the year. You know what I mean, as well, hasn't she?
Yeah, Angie was Irish Hairdresser of the year.
The one thing that really stood out to me from both of you going back, and would have been a big inspiration to me when I was leaving, was the way he's looked at the industry as a business and not just about doing hair. And I think it was now that you went on to win the first Irish Salon to win the Global Business Award, and then you went on to win it 3 times. So it was always I loved when I'd meet you. It was the fact that you weren't talking about the best haircut. It was about the service, the turnover. You know what I mean? It was looking at it as a business, and it really, I knew when I left to open my business that I was leading from what yous had done. And a lot of that was like going to 365, which I don't know whether anybody in Ireland is still around 365, and it was a great learning curve for us all. But that type of business education wasn't available in Ireland at the time for hairdressers, which it is now. You know what I mean? Like, so when I say go back and do anything differently, is there anything you would do differently if you went back?
Yeah, as you said, you mentioned 365 there, and we were very lucky and fortunate. We came across 365 very early on in our business, Greg. Yeah, I mean, I probably always did have a little bit of a business mind, and you're quite right. I always focused on growing other people. Training was a huge thing, and is the biggest thing of still what we do today. And that was always my goal, not for me personally to be, the biggest and the best hairdresser out there, but for the business to be, the salon to be. It's the reason I didn't call it my name, although some people would do that, which, everybody has their own way. But I wanted the brands to grow, not just me, and to grow other people within that, and to give them careers and career paths and futures in the business. And that's how we've been able to grow our business. So in that respect, no, I wouldn't have done anything different. But on education-wise, as regards to 365, what they taught us was the different attributes of running the business, from accounts to banks to dealing with, all sorts of what we find out later on. And sometimes it's too late what we find out. But yeah, if I could have done more of that before I even went in, that's the only thing that I'd say I would actually do better. I wouldn't say different, and do more of.
And Richard, from the point of view of, say, final touch, when you left, did you feel it was God, I should have probably hung on a little bit more experience, or was it great that you could lean on Paul to get that experience?
No. We've been in 365 while we were in Final Touch as well. And I think that's what made a decision that obviously going into work in the city and growing from there would be the better option. Final Touch was very good and it was very successful. And it was something that we sold on. It wasn't that we closed the shop, and it was a business transaction. So it was very good. Yeah. And at that stage, I was still quite young doing that. And but 365, we had gone through the core program, which you would have gone through at that stage. And it made us realize that, there is a difference between running a salon and running a business, and as Paul said, it would have been great that if we had that information before we started, it would have helped and maybe we would have looked at things a little bit different. But it's great to see now that's readily available in Ireland. And obviously, you don't have to be getting on a plane anymore. You can just turn on your Zoom and do things like that now.
What's a plane?
Yeah.
If only.
Yeah, I see the odd one.
They used to fly past my window all the time from where I live, and now it's a rarity. We're out walking, you go, oh, look, there's a plane. But we'll get back.
It's called Zoom now.
It's on its way back. So listen, the fact that you have a flagship, 4-story salon in the city centre, you've got a shopping centre salon out in a country town. You've got the old high street of a very well established, nice upper class area in Sandymount, and you've got a major department store. What makes a fantastic salon?
Well, I think a fantastic salon is always about the energy, from when you walk in, whether it's from the atmosphere, the energy and atmosphere and ambience, and that's created by the people who are in it. Obviously, we can give them the tools and as in the nice salon and, promote it well and put the core team in, but it's them who create that energy. And, it's a culture. And I know people talk about cultures a lot more these days, and we do have a culture within the company, but each salon has its own energy and culture as well. And I think that's what makes it. If you go into any of our salons, they're different, but that's at the forefront from when the client walks in the door. That's what I think makes us an amazing salon. It's the people working together, how they complement each other, how they acknowledge each other's work. It's ongoing in the salons, and it's great to see. So I think that's my look on that anyway.
Yeah. Paul, have you anything to add there?
Yeah, I don't think there's any one thing, Greg. I think it's a multiple of things. And it was something actually David Murray said in one of your interviews about clarity. And I think he summed it up very well. Is to have clarity and sort of focus on what you want as a business, and to that your team understand that and that they buy into it, and it's what they want. It's not just what you want. So that you're all you come into work every day for the same reason. And I think that was a word that I was going to say a lot of things, and when I seen him saying that word, I thought that's really summing it up. I mean, you've got to be very clear with your team, and and then with you as well. Sometimes it's not you telling them; they have to tell you. You've got to be able to listen, and you've got to be able to listen to maybe things that you don't like about what's happening, to go down that road and have the same goals. Training, I think, and focus on you're given. That's to me what makes great salons. That's what makes salons grow. As we mentioned, we work for Peter Mark, who grew their business, from one salon to, I'm not too sure how many they have now, 60, 70 salons, whatever it is. When I joined them, they would have had 30 at the time. And, it's having that training for people to grow and to see that there's something out there for me moving on. And that, you have their back. I think it's very important. And Richard talked about atmosphere, and it's one thing that I'm so proud of in our salons. And, this year we really seen it, our team coming in. And, the atmosphere that was in them salons under major strain, it wasn't difficult coming back after these lockdowns, and it won't be after this one either. But when people pull together, they can achieve amazing things. And that's what we've really seen this year.
And do you find, because, and it's just for other people out there, when you're working with family and you grow to like a team of 70, do you have definitive roles within the organization? Do you kind of go, well, like, your education, your finance, your recruitment, or do you put it all in together?
Yeah, no, I think over the years, we've done a little bit more together. I think now over the latter years, and as we grow and mature and, learn, I think we're finding that, we all have what we're really good at, and we do specialize a little bit more in certain areas, although we do come together and go through all things together. But Angie would focus on the education side completely. She wouldn't really get too involved in what myself and Richard focus on, although I would we'd pull her in and out of what's happening, and we have to agree, we have to trust each other, but agree of where we're going as well.
Richard?
Yeah, well, it's like even before we came on today, Angie's setting up some education over the next couple of days, and we were all aware of what's going on, but she would ring us and say, is there anything that I feel and Paul feels that we can get from this and what we want, so even though she's on it, and the same with the business, say myself and Paul look after a lot of the business side of it, but we very rarely do a major decision where all of us agreeing on it.
I think it's probably because it's relevant now. That's just the book I'm reading at the moment. I spoke to you earlier about it, Richard, the learning code, and the fact that there's so much Zoom, like we love Zoom now. We're all comfortable with it. But the one thing I got out of that, frightened me a little bit out of the book, is that the key to success is making the mistakes. So it's picking up the hair and blow drying it and getting it wrong 10 times to eventually get it right perfect. And with all this education now, you know what I mean? We're all watching. It's the physical act. And it's something that I'm going to talk to Alison about, that I feel a lot of our education might need the interaction on the other end of it. So, in your case, it could be Angie doing a haircut, but there could be 6 students there with their mannequins on the other side. And then I was on a group chat earlier, it just happened to be watching, and one girl was talking about training her trainees while she's off. And one girl said, well, I was bringing them in. And somebody said, no, you can't do that. Stop doing that straight away. And the other person was doing it in a Zoom link, but she said we give them a project to do, and then we come back to it. So I think it's just something that I think the industry itself, we have to watch, is that the technology is brilliant. And I know you love it to bits, Paul. But nothing replaces the physical art of picking hair up in your hand.
It is something myself and Angie were talking about earlier on, because one of the courses we're doing over the next couple of weeks is with Adam Reid, and he will do something, and Siobhan Jones is doing some colour. So they may not actually be able to apply colour and mix the colour they want to do that actual service or that model, but they'll at least have a head there with them to do some of the techniques. Some people have chosen to just watch, but some people have chosen to participate. But it could be anybody. It could be a person or a model head, a training head they'll use. But I think you're right. It is very important that they're not just sitting there, because you can get a little bit, complacent. So,
I think your, education all through the years, Greg, unless you're, physically doing the act, watching isn't as beneficial as, getting your hands in. And I think in our own training, we had great experience of being able to deal with clients, real people, real heads, and that excels your career, I think. Zoom is a great tool, it's an amazing tool, and we all have to learn how to adapt to this new world that we're in, and I think most people are doing that amazingly. But I think watching it is one thing. I think you do have to carry it out, and that's what we're doing. We'll be carrying it out on dolly heads, and as soon as we can get back into the salons, then we will bring that back into the salons. But it's constantly upskilling, education, and if you can't do it hands-on at this point in time, well then Zoom, dolly heads, whatever means you can, but we still need to move forward, and this is the new way at the moment.
So leads me lovely into the next question, because you, as I said in the beginning, Paul, you were a great mentor to me, yourself, Mark McCauley. I don't think I'd have ever become the hairdresser I have become or did become without that early influence of yourself and Mark, and I suppose Peter, because Peter took me on at 21 years of age. But mentors are a big, a big thing, for everybody, I feel. I think whether it be from your parents, from early days. So what mentors have you had in your career, Paul, that you'd like to share, whether it be from the industry or outside of the industry?
Yeah, I mean, there's different types of mentors. There's, your hair, like Sassoon would have been my sort of idol as, a mentor from a hairdressing point of view. I think when you come into the real world and start working in business, you come across different types of people, whether it be your manager. I had, as you mentioned, Peter McDonald back in early days, and then Liam Kennedy, who I know you have on your show shortly. I worked great with Liam over the years, learned a lot, and moved on. And then we met 365, Leslie Spears. I know Rich might talk about him. I had a great opportunity to spend time, myself and Angie, with Leslie for a couple of days. And Leslie teaches about life as well as business and how to really think differently, think outside the box. And I think that's really, really important, especially now. I was very lucky as well. Great man, Ivan Bischoff, through L'Oreal, we met, who steered us through a lot of times when we just needed, a shoulder to lean on, and just someone to even talk to. Sometimes just listening. And some mentors are great at how they actually teach you, and it's just listening and just saying one or two things and helping you figure things out for yourself. That's actually a true mentor.
Yeah. Richard?
Yeah, like at an early stage, I was influenced by yourself, Craig, and Paul, and Mark McCauley. Mark McCauley for a different reason.
Still influences you, yeah. Under the
career. But but no, we had the opportunity, as I say, to go and meet people in 365 who are like-minded, and they weren't all hairdressers. Like Leslie Spears touched on hairdressing as a career, but as I say, it was about life, and I think that's what you need to remember. It's not about the people that are in your business that can be mentors to you. It can be people from other businesses. Like I have clients myself that run multinational companies as well. They inspire me. And then you have people like your family, your friends, and as you said earlier on, myself and Paul were talking, is sometimes the person that can mentor you by not saying an awful lot. Sometimes nothing. It's just to be there to listen. And by you actually speaking to them is yourself mentoring yourself, and like I'm fortunate, and what happened, Paul and Angie and then Wendy at home was in our career as well, and it's great to kind of be able to come home and have that different aspect of it as well. So yeah, I think we're all surrounded by them, but as you say, sometimes we look for people that are up on pedestals, and sometimes they're the people that are sitting beside us that can mentor us just as good.
When is down tools time? Like, so when you come home, Paul, in the evening, and you and Angie been working away, you 4 young boys, and Richard, when even though you and Wendy could still have work together, you're still in the same industry. You have 2 girls to come home to. When is that? Like, where it's very clear of no talk now, business. It's finished.
I've obviously, my daughter Alex now is working with us, and Sophie more on a part-time basis. But Alex, when she comes home, she's excited because she's doing her training as well at the moment. So she has her different, things, and we always try and have our dinner together, and we do have that little discussion. But there is that time we say, right, guys, we need to have 10 minutes and, just kind of talk about ourselves and our day outside of work. But you have to have those few minutes, but generally just goes back to work again.
Paul?
Yeah, I mean, similar, I suppose. As you said, I've 4 younger boys, from teenagers down to, still in primary school. So it's quite a mix in our house, what goes on. Very busy house. It's not that we don't have, we're very lucky, and I've always sort of said this, and I know, Greg, you feel the same, but it's what we do, it's who we are, hairdressing, So we don't particularly have downtime, with our career. I mean, we could be talking about it at 12 o'clock at night, in bed, something's going on or whatever, but not in a bad way. We've always done that. We worked together before we opened our business together, myself and Angie. So it's just part of who we are and what we do. My downtime sometimes to get away with it is to get out, go for a cycle, because there is time I need to get away. I need to clear my head, go for a run, whatever it may be. That's when I actually clear my head. And sometimes I do need to do that. It's not always, okay, for dinner, we're just going to not talk about work. We don't have them rules as such. What happens, as Richard said, you might say, okay, we're not going to talk about it. And then later on, it just happens again. Because it's who we are. We're a family business. It's what we do. And we love it. So it's not a problem. It's not an issue. There are times we do need to clear our head separately. Angie does her thing. But it's always, I find, something to do with, fitness, health, sport that actually clears your head.
Yeah.
Apart from alcohol, of course.
Then that leads perfectly into the next question, because I would look at you as a family, okay, and because I'm close to you over the years as well, is that you're probably the first people I really looked at in our industry that I would have looked and said, they get the work-life balance fairly right. You know what I mean? You made sure you had your good holidays, great memories with your family. you know what I mean? And you seem to get that balance right, you know what I mean? So there's no better two guys to ask this question that in the year that we had 2020 and leading on to now, glass half full moments are the ones I hang on to, and I try and find at least a couple every day. So is there any glass half full moments you'd look back on the last year and say, do you know what? If this hadn't happened, I would never have done that. I would have never known this. And that's a good glass half full moment. Richard, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I think I was thinking about this one a lot today, and you know what I found, and we touched on it earlier on when we were talking, Paul did there, about, you know, Wales could have been closed down from March till the end of June that time. You know, obviously it gave us a bit of time to spend with our family, and that I really enjoyed it. And, you know, obviously exercise and so on and so forth. But in the business sense, when we came back, it was to see how people grew. Even though people, they were talked about it being a negative time. It wasn't. There was a lot of positivity when people came back to work. People who, they changed from those 3 months, you know, they stepped up. We came back into a busy time, and they came straight back into it. And I thought that was fantastic. And again, then 2 months later, we closed again. And again, these people stepped up to the mark. And it was in all aspects, from the trainees to the front of house, to the stylists, you know, the younger stylists and the more senior stylists. You know, they were all fantastic. And I think that was a positive that I got out of it. You know, half glass, half full. I don't know which way you would think that, but there was a negative of being closed, but the positive and see how people work together coming back was amazing.
Yeah. The coming back was like unbelievable, wasn't it?
Yeah,
like,
it was. It was
I don't
fantastic.
think in my whole life of working, I never experienced that togetherness and the empathy from the client. You know what I mean? The guests in the salon, how well respected we were and wanted, you know. We often doubt that at times. So Paul, what do you have your class?
Yeah, you touched on it there, Greg, how the public took us, you know. I mean, I remember certainly in the first lockdown, you know, it was all talk about hairdressing. I mean, they were, you know, firing at the HSE, you know, in meetings on TV. They were asked about when the hairdressers opening back up. We want the hairdressers back, you know. So that solidarity from the public out there was amazing. And as Richard said, you know, our team's coming back, and all through the industry, you know, I'm so proud of our industry, how we've actually come through this. You know, what I've learned is how strong we are, you know, together as a family, as a business, and as a team, and what we've built, and our team around us, how resilient they have been through this. They've come back once, they've come back twice, they're going to do it a third time. And, you know, we're on to some of our team, and they're so looking forward to getting back. You know, it's funny you ask that half full, half empty glass, or half full glass. I'm a bit of, you know, we're a bit yin and yang, you know, Angie and Richard and myself. I'm sort of a little bit of the pessimist sometimes, the devil's advocate. I can see, which sometimes can be harmful, but sometimes it's no harm as well, to see what can go wrong, what is going wrong. Because if you don't know what can and what isn't going to go wrong, you can't maybe fix it either, you know. So, and then Angie's very positive, and so is Richard. So that's why, you know, we work very well together as a team. I think I do sometimes look at, you know, the negatives going on, and I have Richard and Angie to pick me up on the positives. But we always come out on that side. So the glass half full for us was just amazing how our teams pulled together and how resilient they were. And we're very positive about the future in our business and our teams.
Great answer. That leads lovely into my final question, and that's, what would you like the future, if you had a crystal ball, of the next 12 months, 16 months, maybe we'll extend it out to 16 because we could be closed a bit longer.
Yeah.
But what would you like to see happen, you know what I mean, in the future of your business? Who wants to go first?
Well, I think at the moment on news today, we're getting dates, and, you know, another date. And I think the first and foremost thing is stability for our business and our team, you know, and we can't really give that stability until we get a date to go back, you know. And I think that's what everybody wants. They want to know, when am I going back? They're excited to go back. We're very much in contact with them at the moment, and today as well. You know, people text me, can't wait to see how he's getting on. You know, they want to get back, and then once we get back then and get our momentum going, we need to know where that business kind of stability is going to be with clients. Like, we're all going to be busy when we go back, and then it's when it dips. And then when's the next? So we have to get that stability and try and understand it. And I think the only way you can understand it is by sharing information, like meeting people like yourself, Craig, and obviously working with companies like L'Oreal and, Alpha Parf and all them. Well, as they have information that we can share. And I think that's what we need to get stability and an understanding going forward. But we have to look after ourselves first and foremost, our team, and get our clients back in, look after them, and then get them back and get that momentum going.
And let's not forget, we actually have an official apprenticeship out there at the moment, which Alex is one of the studying at the moment, which is fantastic.
Yeah, it's very positive.
That's a positive there to look forward to. Let's hope that grows and goes from strength to strength. So, Paul, yourself.
Yeah, I think, the stability, as Richard said, if, as I say, me looking at the pessimistic side as regards to when will we get back, how will we get back, what's the client, visit going to be? Is it going to be every 6 weeks, or are they going to stretch it out to 10 weeks? So there's a lot that have gone on. There's a lot of worries in our business about people maybe doing box dye colors at home or having their hair done at home. When will they come back into the salons? We all know we're going to be busy when we open for the first 3 or 4 weeks, as is before, but how busy will we be and for how long? So that is the challenge that faces us. But, from the positive side, we've seen how the public have responded to us. And I think the next 12 to 18 months will be very challenging for businesses, in all businesses, not just ourselves. But, from what we've learned and what we've been able to do and the time that we've had closed, and to be able to rethink our business and look at things that we wouldn't have had time to do. Sometimes even if you're not behind the chair all the time, you don't look at your business and magnify into it. We were able to do that now. So we feel, we're very positive about the future, about growing Zeba, growing the company, and training. We have a huge training program in place for our teams. And we think, 12 to 24 months will see us grow even further.
Will it be a fifth?
And a sixth.
Lockdown.
Not fifth. Oh, Jesus, no.
Oh.
So listen, guys, that's it. That's fantastic. It's been great. I really enjoyed it because I knew what was coming. Is there an inspiration to the industry in the way you conduct yourselves throughout the years, in the way you look after your team? And I think the key secret is a lot of those people that joined you 28 years ago are still with you today. And I think that says a lot for your business. If you have a quick goodbye you want to say to the fellow salon soul brothers and sisters out there, I'll let you both take the stage.
Yeah, well, listen, Greg, thanks very much for inviting us on. It's always a pleasure having a chat. We were out on the beach the other day, only walking around, and it was fun. And this is really good. And listen, best wishes to everybody in the industry over the next few weeks.
Paul?
Yeah, Greg, this is great what you're doing for people to share stories. And if we can all share our stories, sometimes in our industry we don't do that enough. And I found through this, I'm talking to a lot of other hairdressers, and I'd like to shout out to them all. I think it's all sharing a little bit of, motivation for each other. I think is what we need, and that's what the future holds. Best of luck, guys.
I think the whole aim is to keep the industry alive, and we don't want to see anybody's door closed. We want to see all the doors open, because there's enough business out there for us all. You know what I mean? We really want and keeping it within the confines of safety and security for the people that work within the industry, and that can only happen by salons like yourself keeping the doors open. So, Salon Soul brothers and sisters, until we meet again on another evening, it's goodbye for me and the Zeba Brothers.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
I hope you enjoyed our interview with Paul and Richard Dromgoole of Zeba Hairdressing. If you're enjoying our interviews, please don't keep it to yourself. Please share with fellow Salon Soul brothers and sisters around the globe. And please don't forget to subscribe to our channel and leave us a 5-star review. Thank you.